Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
Today, we're looking at something that's, well, making waves. Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad author.
Hard to miss him.
He's predicting Bitcoin will hit $1 million. $1 million.
It's a huge number. And coming from someone like Kiyosaki, it definitely gets people talking. He's built this massive platform as an entrepreneur and educator.
Right, influencing how millions think about money, pushing against conventional wisdom, focusing on passive income.
Exactly. So when he drops a forecast like this, based on his read of the global economy, well, yeah, pay attention.
Absolutely. Bitcoin to $1 million. Sounds pretty wild on the surface, doesn't it?
It does.
So our mission today is really to unpack that. What's the thinking behind it? We'll look at his recent statements, try to piece together the logic.
Sounds good. Where should we start? His view on the current financial system seems central.
Okay, yeah. Let's start there. His first big point. The U.S. financial situation. He uses strong language, calls it unsustainable.
He does. And his primary focus seems to be the U.S. public debt, the sheer scale of it.
It's astronomical. He sees it as this massive weight on the economy.
And, historically, very high government debt can raise flags, concerns about repayment, investor confidence, that sort of thing.
Right. And he argues this debt, which keeps growing because of, well, expansive monetary policies.
Like lowering interest rates, increasing money supply.
And lots of government spending. He argues it's actually weakening trust in regular currencies, especially the U.S. dollar.
Which is, of course, the big one. The global reserve currency, used everywhere for trade, finance.
So if people start doubting the dollar,
then the worry, from his perspective, is that it doesn't just affect the U.S. The whole global financial system is so interconnected. Instability there could spread.
Okay, that's a major concern. Let's shift to another area he highlights, rising unemployment in the U.S.
Yeah, he sees this as another key warning light flashing for the economy.
A struggling job market. I mean, that points to an economic slowdown, doesn't it? Creates real uncertainty for people.
Absolutely. More people out of work or worried about it.
Yeah.
That usually means less spending power overall.
Which then hits consumer demand, slows down growth, and he even suggests it could stir up social and political issues.
It's all connected. And that leads into another point. He raises the value of pension funds. He seems quite worried about that.
That hits home for a lot of people planning for retirement. The idea that those funds might be shrinking in real value is, well, it's scary.
Definitely. And he points to a few reasons why this might be happening. Inflation's a big one, eating away at purchasing power.
And investment returns maybe not keeping up.
Exactly. Disappointing returns.
Yeah.
Plus demographic challenges like more people retiring. It puts pressure on the system.
So people get anxious about retirement, start looking for other ways to protect their savings long term. Understandable.
Which kind of builds towards his really dramatic prediction, the possibility of a new Great Depression.
He's talked about this before, hasn't he? In Rich Dad's Prophecy.
He has. And he's not just talking about a standard recession here. He envisions something much deeper, more systemic.
Like a massive global shock, hitting production, jobs, trade, everything.
That seems to be the scenario he's painting. He worries that all the monetary stimulus after the pandemic might have, blown up this huge speculative bubble.
And bubbles eventually burst.
That's the fear, potentially leading to a really severe downturn.
But here's the twist, right? Even with this gloomy outlook, Kiyosaki sees opportunity.
That's his classic contrarian streak. He believes these crisis moments are actually when fortunes can be made, if you're prepared.
So the idea is that when things look bleak, assets get cheap. Undervalued assets with real potential.
Precisely. Assets with intrinsic value that could see huge growth during the recovery and afterwards.
And this is where he brings in his preferred safe havens, Bitcoin, gold, and silver.
Yeah, he positions these as ways to protect your wealth when traditional systems look shaky.
The hedge against inflation, against currency devaluation, all the risks he's been talking about.
Exactly. Investing in these, in his view, isn't just about protection. It's about potentially building serious wealth through the turmoil and beyond.
Which finally loops us back to the big headline, Bitcoin hitting $1 million. And he puts a date on it by 2035.
It's very specific.
Yeah.
And the rationale seems tied to a few key trends he's observing.
Like more big institutions getting into Bitcoin.
That's a big one. Plus, this whole narrative of Bitcoin as digital gold, a scarce digital store of value.
And the fact that it's decentralized, operates outside government or central bank control.
That's key to its appeal for him, I think. Its resistance to censorship and control.
No, he still likes gold and silver, right? Just maybe sees less
Yeah.
Explosive potential compared to Bitcoin?
That seems to be his take, yes. They're the traditional safe havens, but Bitcoin has that unique digital scarcity and network effect potential.
Okay, let's bring in the current market context. As we're talking, Bitcoin's trading around, what, $93,000?
Roughly, yeah. And it's had a decent run recently, up about 10% in the last week or so.
Does that recent positive trend sort of add weight to his argument, do you think? In his mind, or for others watching?
It certainly could be interpreted that way. You've got factors like the anticipation around the halving event.
Which reduces the supply of new Bitcoin.
Right. Plus, continued institutional interest and this growing view of Bitcoin as a way to diversify, maybe protect against volatility elsewhere. It all feeds into the narrative.
So putting it all together, Kiyosaki's $1 million call seems less like a random guess and more like the conclusion of his rather bleak analysis of the current economic system.
It definitely stems from his concerns about instability, debt, potential currency issues, not just in the US, but globally.
His view seems to echo a wider feeling among some investors, doesn't it? People looking for alternatives to traditional markets they see as risky.
Absolutely. There's a growing search for assets outside the conventional system.
And Bitcoin's growing acceptance, or at least consideration, as a potential hedge against inflation, maybe even recession, an asset independent of central banks. That seems core to his thesis.
It's central, yes, but we have to acknowledge it's still a very bold prediction. $1 million Bitcoin.
Oh, definitely. There's plenty of skepticism out there.
And rightly so.
Yeah.
Getting to that price by 2035 depends on so many things we just can't predict with certainty.
Global adoption levels, for one. How will governments regulate it? What about technological changes?
All huge variables, complex and unpredictable.
Still, you can see the foundation of his argument. It's built on real economic worries people have, combined with a belief in Bitcoin's unique properties in a digital age.
Exactly. Whether you agree with the final number or the timeline, the underlying analysis touches on significant shifts happening in finance.
So listening to all this, what are your thoughts? Does Kiyosaki's reasoning make sense to you, even if the number seems extreme?
What factors do you think will be most crucial for Bitcoin's price going forward? Are they the ones he highlights?
And maybe more importantly, how does this kind of analysis make you think about your own financial approach in these uncertain times?
These are really the key questions, aren't they? It's worth thinking deeper, considering different angles and figuring out where you stand.
Definitely. This whole conversation really pushes us to think about where finance might be headed and what role assets like Bitcoin could play. Whether it hits $1 million or not, Kiyosaki's prediction certainly fuels the debate about our traditional systems and the search for alternatives. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.